Some business news for you now. And the fortunes of the world's 5 richest men have more than doubled since 2020. In fact, the world could see its first trillionaire very soon. All the while, 3 in 5 people around the globe have been made poorer. Well, those are some of the findings in Oxfam's new inequality report, released to coincide with the start of the World Economic Forum. That exclusive gathering of the global elite is set to run all week. France 24's Yuka Royer has been speaking to Oxfam's director in Davos.
The World Economic Forum is back in Davos with political, business and civil society leaders descending on the Swiss mountain resort in droves. Among them, some of the world's richest people. So as they begin discussing how to enhance global cooperation in a fractured world, we're once again reminded about the forum's contradictions. Now, here to discuss more about widening global inequality, I'm joined here by Amitabh Behar, the interim executive director of Oxfam International. Amitabh, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Now, once again this year, your report highlights the staggering level of inequality, and now you're predicting that the world's first trillionaire may be on its way soon.
Yes, within a decade. Within a decade, we are predicting that we'll have a trillionaire, and it's still going to take more than 200 years, almost 230 years to end poverty. That's the level of inequality. So our new report says that the top 5 billionaires have doubled their wealth since 2020, but there are 5 billion people collectively who have become poorer. So this is really a decade of division that we are looking at.
A decade of division that we're looking at now. How serious is inequality, and how serious, more importantly, is extreme poverty that's now higher than pre-pandemic levels?
Yes, as in the billionaires since 2020 have added more than 3 trillion to their wealth. There are 800 million people who actually sleep hungry. There are 800 million people whose wages have not kept up with inflation. So that's the level of staggering, obscene inequality that we are seeing. So this is certainly a policy failure. And some people, particularly here at WEF, celebrate billionaires, and they would probably be very excited to hear that there's going to be a trillionaire. But I really think it would be heart-wrenching that you have 800 million people sleeping hungry and you actually have a trillionaire amongst us.
Well, there are billionaires, but there are also, these people tend to be big decision makers as well. And this is a forum traditionally where global consensus is built. So how can forums like this help address that issue?
But that's precisely what our report is saying this year, that we are entering with this decade of division, entering into an era of billionaire supremacy. It's about corporate and monopoly power. And these billionaires pretty much control what we eat, what drugs we get. So they're controlling, they're not only becoming richer, now they're controlling our economy, our systems, policies, and which is really making them richer and richer, whereas the average person continues to live in poverty. So out of $10 profit, $8 have gone to their shareholders. Of the top 10 corporations, 7 are either run by billionaires or they are the principal shareholders. And it's just mind-boggling. 5 of the top corporates are valued more than the combined GDP of Africa, Latin America, and Caribbean. So that's really the stark difference that you're looking at. And maybe it's important, particularly for you. One company, Apple, is valued more than the GDP of France, which is the 7th largest economy in the world.
Now, the cost of living crisis persists as well for millions of households around the world. They're struggling, as you said. Wage growth has not kept up with the pace of inflation, and food prices and prices of other essentials have gone up sharply. Now, why in this era then was it possible for the richest people to become even richer?
Because this is an era of billionaire supremacy. They pretty much now shape policies the way it suits them. Just look at corporate taxes. Since 1980s, the OECD countries have halved their corporate taxes. You have Bezos, Amazon, paying only 1% of real taxes. Last year, $1 trillion of foreign profits were taken to tax havens. So Governments are getting starved of resources. Billionaires are becoming richer. They're becoming more powerful. They're changing policies. Ultimately, it's the poor, the common citizens who are shouldering the burden of the war, hunger, and poverty.
Here in Europe, the European Union's minimum corporate tax rate of 15% on multinational firms has just come into effect this year. Will that be a game changer?
Yeah, I think there is now momentum to relook at taxes. The UN Tax Reform Commission, but has now started taking shape. But sadly, most of the rich countries have actually not backed it. But there's some hope, as in with President Lula becoming the president of G20, where he's saying inequality is going to be one of the central concerns for G20.
Well, Amitabh, thank you so much for joining us on France 24.
Thank you.
Thanks to Yuka Royer there reporting for us from Davos. So thanks to you for watching. Stay with us. I'll be back in just a few minutes with more.